Sean Zittel, ThaBoxingvoice.com, here with one of the absolute best in the business, Dougie Fischer. What's up, Dougie?
Not too much. I mean, this huge fight is happening. There's a great buzz here. A lot of folks here in Vegas. It's a good feeling. It's always good to be around media that you don't see every day. Like I was just talking to Mark over there. He's an East Coast guy. I don't see him. I see him like maybe once or twice a year. So it's cool when they come over to this coast, when they come into to Las Vegas, and it's even better is seeing all the fans and how hyped they are, and seeing all of Canelo's dedicated fans and seeing all of Triple G's dedicated fans. I like that kind of devotion. And they're not being nasty towards each other. There's a lot of respect between these two middleweights, and there's decent amount of respect by modern standards between the fans.
We never hear you buy into the hype. So there's a lot of hype around this one for good reason. Is it going to live up to the expectations, Dougie?
I think so, because I mean, obviously it's a big event. You got two, not only the two top middleweights, but the two most popular middleweights. And regardless of weight class, you're talking about two fighters that have dedicated fan bases. I mean, Canelo's the kind of guy, you go to Texas and fight anybody, really. And it's too big for an arena. It's got to be ballparks, right? It's got to be stadiums. You're talking about a guy who put 30 plus or 40 plus thousand in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome, 30 plus. Where was that? That was at the ballpark.
Where the Astros play.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it. Minute Maid.
Minute Maid Park.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for actually all three of his Texas stadium fights. And then last year against Liam Smith, it was totally unknown. Come on, totally unknown in the U.S., definitely unknown in Texas. And they do 50,000 at AT&T Stadium. So that's a dude who puts butts in the seats. And with Golovkin, you got a guy who sells out Madison Square Garden, the Forum, and over the O2 Arena in London against Kell Brook. He's got a dedicated fan following. So obviously you put them together, you're going to have a lot of fans descend, not just upon that venue, but the host city. Both guys have legitimate claims to the middleweight championship. But beyond that, so that means it's a big event, but it's going to be a good fight because of Golovkin's style. He's a technical pressure fighter. He's got, I think he's one of the best fighters at cutting off the ring. Excellent balance and footwork. He's got a world-class jab. Obviously, he can crack. He's a great puncher. And with Canelo, you got a guy who's got fast hands but kind of heavy feet. He can move around a little bit, but he doesn't like to do that. So, I mean, you might see him take a step back. You might see him go to the ropes. It should be very interesting. And usually Canelo can fight very well off the ropes, but against a guy like Golovkin, that remains to be seen. But, I mean, the great thing about Canelo is, I mean, he just turned 27. So he's a grown man who's just reaching, or has probably just hit his physical/athletic peak. And I wonder how that plays out in the ring. I wonder how, with his experience, because usually when you got a guy who just turned 27 against a guy who's 35, everyone calls this a youth versus experience fight. But Canelo's got experience. He turned pro when he was 15. I think he's got 15 more pro bouts than Golovkin does. So he brings his experience, and he's been on the world-class level at least since 2013. That's when he fought Austin Trout. Then he fought Mayweather. Then he fought Erislandy Lara, and he fought a first ballot Hall of Famer in Miguel Cotto. So that's a high quality of opposition. Now, in between those guys, I mean, there was fights that he should have won. But I'm saying there's a lot of quality rounds that he has. And he does seem like the kind of guy who's learned. So he's a boxer-puncher. He's probably more boxer than puncher. He's not a knockout artist, but he's got heavy hands. And I'm thinking he hits hard enough to get Golovkin's respect, right? So Golovkin's going to be kind of careful in there. So this is...
That was my question. You mentioned how great Triple G is at cutting off the ring, but will he be doing a lot of that like he usually is against Canelo's counters?
Yes, but gradually. I think he kind of maybe approaches Canelo the way he approached David Lemieux.
That's what I keep hearing.
Let me just work behind his jab. And the same thing with Danny Jacobs. Let me work behind this jab. He doesn't abandon the jab. And he's stalking early, and then, his plan is, let me cut the ring off. Let me eventually get this guy against the ropes, in a corner, and then let me really work him over. Or let me get him to stand his ground a little bit too long. But I think Canelo's got enough power to where, like Golovkin against Jacobs, when Jacobs flared up offensively, Golovkin took a little half step back. You know what I mean? I think maybe he does that with Canelo. We'll see. If he doesn't do it, it's going to be really exciting. If he just walks through Canelo's fire, that's going to be really thrilling. But, I mean, I think both these guys are boxers. They're not sluggers, you know. They're boxers who can punch. Golovkin is the more world-class puncher. Canelo has heavy hands, but he's got the edge in speed. Maybe like quicker reflexes. That could trouble.
Is it possible because they are such good technical boxers that you don't get the firefight and the exchanges everyone's looking for?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be Hagler-Hearns. I think it's going to be Hagler-Duran. So you boys and girls at home, you can go to YouTube, look up that fight. Hagler-Duran went 15 rounds. It was a good fight though. It was a fast pace. I don't want to call it a chess match, but it was they were boxing in there. They weren't being crazy, but they were also, you know, their hearts were on display, and it was a high volume fight. And Duran was able to stand in there with them because of that experience that he brought up, and his talent, his ability to that head movement to slip and counter. And
styles are even a little similar, right?
Yeah, I agree. Canelo's really, and Canelo, he idolizes Duran. You know, I once asked him, if you could fight anybody in the history of boxing, who do you dream about fighting? He says Duran, because he admires him so much. And a lot of that admiration is because of Duran's technical ability. The ability to stand your ground and evade punches, but also be offensive. So I mean, I think that's a good mesh. A guy who can stand and do that is trying to do that, trying to slip and counter hard and drop combinations or work the body inside against a pressure fighter with a great jab and world-class power. I think that's the kind of style matchup that's going to give us a good fight. May not be a shootout, may not be a war. It's probably a battle of attrition, but it's going to be high-quality stuff. It's not going to be boring at all. It's going to be very compelling.
Can you give us a prediction, or can we get that out of you?
I like Golovkin by decision.
So much for your golden boy bias.
I know. And I think it's competitive enough that maybe Team Triple G sweats a little bit, before the scorecards are read. But I mean, if Golovkin wins legitimately 7 or 8 rounds, I mean, my hope is that he wins the decision. I'll be very disappointed if this is a close, competitive fight, but a clear win for Golovkin, and it's not a clear win on the official scorecards. I mean, I think the world is watching the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the officials, and I want them to be fair. I don't want them to show, bias or I don't want them to be partial to either fighter. But we know, Canelo's the star. Canelo's fought here before, and there's always that one scorecard in a lot of these Canelo fights where it's like, wow, that guy really likes Canelo, It's like, what the hell was that all about, So I'm really hoping that there's not that kind of thing with this fight. But all said, I'm just saying on my scorecard, I'm expecting Golovkin to be ahead after 12 competitive rounds.
And this is my last one, Dougie. A lot of people love to talk pound for pound. I don't know if you're huge on that.
I'm not.
Is the winner pound for pound, or is that even a discussion?
Arguably. I mean, Golovkin's, I think he's in everybody's top 3. So he's close. He's within range of number 1. Definitely top 5. And Canelo, I think, is like top 10 for most folks. It's like lower top 10, like 8, 9, 10.
He makes people's list, though.
Right. So if he, if Golovkin wins in decisive, breathtaking fashion, I can see him moving up a couple spots. So if you already had him number 2 or 3, maybe he takes over number 1. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't get it. The last number 1 pound for pound fighter that I gave a rat's ass about was Chocolatito. Because